Hey, Diana Lidstone here from the Work Less, Profit More business podcast for lawyers, accountants, financial advisors, and other expert professionals. I wanted to give a big shout out to Adam. Working with him has been the best thing I did for my podcast. You see, before Adam, I was beginning to wonder whether this whole podcasting thing was going to work for my business, whether it was going to drive downloads, whether it was going to drive my business forward. But with his guidance, not only are downloads up, but I'm having great fun doing my coaching style episodes. If you ever thought about working with Adam, don't wait. It's been so worth every single penny. You're listening to the Podcasting Business School, and here's your host, Adam Shively.
What's up, pod pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you're listening to Podcasting Business School. It's a show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you make more money with your online business. We got a little live coaching jam session here today. Very excited about these. Getting great feedback on the double dose, the double dip live coaching episodes we've been doing for the last several months. So we have two coaching segments. The first one, I am doing a podcast audit of the Moving Tips and Tricks podcast. And then in the second segment, I'm tagging in one of my newly certified podcast growth coaches, Coach Leah Bryant. She's going to step into the coaching seat and do an audit and do some podcast growth tips for one of our listeners. So very excited about this. In this first segment, like I said, this is me diving in on the Moving Tips and Tricks podcast. We got a lot done on this first one. So I dive into the importance of expert positioning, simplifying her content strategy, a simple newsletter funnel that I've been working that is funding my ads on Facebook and Instagram. So I think that you're going to get a lot out of this one. So let's kick it off with my podcast audit segment of the Moving Tips and Tricks podcast. All right. I like to start these sessions by setting a goal. So let's say that you and I are meeting up again 6 months from today and everything's gone extremely well, lots of momentum. Paint that picture for me. What's that look like?
I will have gone from a very expensive podcasting hobby to a very profitable coaching business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you feel like is the main thing that's kind of roadblocking your path to get there right now?
Well, I'm very niche-y by way of podcasts, but I'm not very niche-y when it comes to like cultural significance, right? So 25 million people move a year. And in my like ICA, which is like 21 to 45, there's like 12.5 million people that move a year. So there's no reason that the show couldn't be absolutely huge. I just have a few things like kind of standing in my way, I feel like, and most of that is me. So that's
okay. So we're going to have to do like the headspace pep talk session here a little bit. Okay. We can, I love that. Like I love putting my motivation coach hat on. I think I can deliver on this for you, Mariette. Now, describe your ideal listener a little bit more, just so people know what type of show we're talking about here.
Yeah, so it's literally a moving and relocation show. So I've moved 20 times in the last 24 years to 6 of America's top cities. And some of the moves I've done DIY, some of them I've had movers, some I've had a hybrid of both. And so for me, the person that I am coaching is somebody in their 20s and 30s who have nobody to kind of go to answer some of these questions because I grew up in Chicago and like we had a rubber band radius around our grandparents, right? So like nobody ever left. My first move to California, like I had nobody to ask questions to. The Google was really young. So I just didn't have a whole lot of coaching, but now there's so much information that people don't know what to believe. And they just kind of, they spend more time preparing for a vacation than they do for their relocation. And so I want to become that person for that, 21 to 45-year-old who like has that adventure on their heart, but also is like nervous or stuck or scared. Because technically I'm a certified life coach as well. So I can help them get unstuck, but there's a lot of people that shouldn't move and they do, and then they like regret it. So that's my ICA is somebody who, has that dream on their heart, but there's things that I can help them plan to keep that regret and that stress off their plate.
Okay. You understand your ideal listener avatar really well. So that's a great first step. You're not in that I'm a podcaster where I'm like, I'm kind of figuring out who I want to talk to phase. Like, exactly who and how well. So that's a huge first step. Now the show was named something else. You attended my PodFest talk. talk about that real quick, and make sure you mention who you were sitting next to, because that's very, 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 very important in this story.
Yeah. So I went to PodFest. I ended up meeting John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire, EO Fire. And he and I started talking, and then we just started going to classes together. And he asked me where I was going. And I said, I don't have anything on the schedule right now, because I was just kind of floating around. Like, it was my first PodFest. For anybody that, was even considering going, it's magical. I'm going to VidFest in August just because like it was so great. But we got into the class, and everything that you were saying were things that had been on my heart, but I just couldn't figure out how to do it. And John, like JLD, leans over to me and he goes, you should do all those things. I'm like, I know. And so I literally, your presentation was masterful. First of all, you had like the 5 downloads to, put to listen to on the airplane home. And I literally did. I listened to every single one of them. I had notes, and the woman next to me apparently had gone to PodFest too. And she goes, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I went to this podcasting festival, and, this awesome guy named Adam did this awesome session. And she's like, wait, what are they? And she had gone too. So you have another person that's actually doing all these things. But yeah, so my experience was just like, it was kind of eye-opening, because I didn't know how to take all of the things that I want to do, the coaching, the digital course, the, workshops and the podcast, and put it all into one thing that can grow the audience. But now I'm in that place where I'm kind of stuck there, where like I have the ideas and I just need to execute on it.
Yeah. So tell us old name and new name. What do we transform from and into?
Yeah. So it was Marriott's on the Move, because the theory was like, if you want to move, I'm on it. And I was always on the move too. An old boss at one point said, because I, again, moved 20 times in the last 24 years, everybody would be like, oh, where are you living now? And I'd say, oh, well, now I'm in Charlotte. And they'd be like, oh, Marriott's on the move again. But it kind of sounded like I was a workout instructor, or I was a traveler, things like that. So when you said, make it so simple that there's no doubt what the podcast is about, I'm like, well, really, it's moving tips and tricks for people considering a relocation. Because my whole thing is like, should I stay or should I go? And I give them, little tricks to, like, a city POC, for instance, instead of like selling your house and like just picking up in YOLO and move, like go and spend a month or two in a midterm rental to find that place. So like the extension of the title is kind of that, like, this is who it's for, but the actual name itself is so simple that I didn't even like put social media out for the teaser season 3, because I wanted to join Podmatch, and you have to have like a current podcast up. And so I just put a teaser out there, and I had like 50 downloads instantly. And I don't know that I had like 50 people listening regularly before ever. So yeah, it worked.
It really works. Having that big keyword as the first word, and moving that's your big keyword. Yeah. I try to talk to real estate agents all the freaking time, and they have all these creatively named shows. I'm like, where do you sell homes? Okay. Greenville, South Carolina. Your show needs to be called Moving to Greenville, South Carolina. That's the name of your show. Don't complicate it. So having the word moving in there is great. Also, I think like with the title extension, like they're different. I mess with mine quite a bit. I'm always experimenting. So that's something you can experiment with. And one experiment, or a phrase that I know you've mentioned, but something that I would consider putting in the title extension would be residential relocation.
Okay.
I think both those words could work really well. And you have the word moving. I wouldn't put the word moving again in the title extension, because it's already the first word. So if we could sneak relocation or residential relocation in there, I think that would be an upgrade. So otherwise, I think you're looking really, really good there.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Now let's get in. I mean, I see a lot of opportunity with this type of a show. We have to think about the actual listener and the content and go, all right, let's be real here. This is probably not a show that somebody listens to for their whole life. Like they find it because they want to move, they move, and we can check that off, and we did it. Now they move again, maybe they come back. So, I mean, I don't know, content wise, I would recommend just leaning into that. Other people might be like, well, let's give somebody a reason to listen every single week if they wanted to. So your downloads, I would suspect, are really going to spike coming up in these next few months in the spring, summer, as people are like, that's like the hot moving time. Yeah. And then maybe a little bit less in the winter time. I mean, is that of concern to you? Do you feel like you've kind of owned that? Do you want to look for a more consistent, like yearly strategy, or how do you feel about that?
I think what I was doing before, so I was doing an interview-based show before for a couple reasons. One, I love interviewing people. I was a recruiter for a while. Like I'm a sales rep now. Like I am a constant interviewer, but I felt like I was kind of hiding behind it a little bit. And one of the things that you said in your session was like really lean into the solos. And one of the things that I did, so Chris Kremitzos was at Podfest Indy when I went there for like they did like a lunch and learn. He spent 20 minutes with me, said the same thing. Like you need to really, you're doing a lot of interviews. You need to lean in on the video and you need to lean in on solos. And then I met with Vinny Potestivo, who is like a publicist slash, he's got a podcast called I Have a Podcast, and he interviews all kinds of famous people. He said the same thing. He's like, why are you doing so many interviews? And then I get into your class and JLD says the same thing to me after you said, and I was like, okay, I'm doing solos. So I think that like my format, I want to do kind of what you're doing, where it's like the solo episode where it's just like 15, 20 minutes of tips. Like yesterday, I recorded something about like when you move from a warmer climate, because I moved from Charlotte back to Chicago, and I'm like, freezing pipes, and this is why like using heating blankets instead of space heaters, like things like that I could probably pop on and just do like Deep Thoughts by Marriott, like where it's just those tricks. But then also I wanted to learn more about your case studies, because candidly, like until the session, I didn't know who you were. And now I've like binged like 20 episodes of yours. So I think that I have a couple people that I really we did a number around the coaching side of it, and they had very successful moves, but it was not your traditional like hire movers and get there. So I think that leaning into things like that and changing the format will help as well. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think more people will find me on like YouTube than they probably find me on like Apple or Spotify.
Yeah. So I think you hit the nail on the head. We need expert positioning, leveraging that 2/3 content rule, solo episodes, coaching or case study style episodes. Like with your solo episodes, just kind of think about like if you were going to help out a client or a family member or a friend move from point A to point B, like what content do they need? What 10 episodes do they need to listen to? What 15 episodes do they need to listen to? And really with a solo episode, the nice thing is you don't have to have 10 strategies. It could be one strategy per episode. My best solo episodes are very simple. It's like one episode, one checkbox, one action step. Okay, deep dive, complete it. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, we're good. Those tend to work really, really well. People right now are appreciative of simplification. Like
I'm noticing that
in a big way.
Yeah.
That will make you stand out in a big way. So I like that as a solo episode. I love the case study idea. I would be pulling anybody that you've helped, and the more weird and interesting the move, the better.
Okay.
And because that's where you get to do your interview ninja skills, and you get to pull that story out of them. What were you thinking? Like, I know when we got to this point, whatever happened, the mortgage fell through and we had to circle back around or whatever. The moving truck got a flat tire. Tell all the stories, pull all those out, and unpack it. But with the case study, you go, all right, first things first. Why did you get to the point where you decided you need some help and you decided to hire me? What was that like? So that's kind of like it's nice for expert positioning. It's like, here's why I hired Marriott to help me out. Then you go through all the stories, the adventures, unpack their whole thing, and then at the end. Just kind of be like, well, what do you think it would have been like if you hadn't worked with me? Like, what do you feel like the advantage was of having somebody like myself to work with, and kind of lean into that? And that's the case study episode. Okay. Then, or maybe you let them go, hey, so if somebody out there that's getting ready to move, like what tip would you give them? Like, what was the most helpful strategy that we used when we were working with you or whatever? So that's a case study episode. I think you could clean up if you went on social media platform of your choice, and go, hey, I've got this podcast, Moving Tips and Tricks. I want to pull people on that are considering a move or are definitely going to be moving this spring for a 20-minute moving deep dive strategy session. Audit. The word audit works really well. I highly recommend it. Any of that, pull people on and start creating those types of episodes. And you could potentially do these in a panel style as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be one-on-one. So if that tends, I would just test it out, see what you
Yeah.
like, see what your listeners like. But this is almost like never ending content. Honestly, you
There's
could
so much.
just do that.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't even have to do solo episodes. If you're like, solo is not my jam, but that coaching style episode might kind of fulfill that need to want to do interviews because you have that partner in
Yeah.
content creation, but it still positions you as the expert, which is the best of both worlds. Something to consider. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted to, if you're like, I love these, then you could just do those and just go grab people off social media, because a certain amount of those people will go, okay, this is all fine and well, but I really do need your help. How do I hire you?
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And then people who listen to it, it positions you as the expert when they're ready to invest. And, you are in the make money, save money camp, because if you can help them streamline their moving experience, it will be less expensive.
Yeah.
So we have to, if I were you, I would remind people of that. And if in a case study, especially, or if you're doing a coaching episode, I would use that verbiage. Like, all right, now let's really think about how we could streamline this and save you some money. And just by doing this, this, and this, that should take about $2,500 off your total moving expense. Like, throw that stuff out there so people are like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
The program costs whatever, but you saved me so much more. Like, that's positioning that I want.
Yeah, because like I'm at that point where I can tell you, if you have 11,000 pounds, I know it's going to cost you this much to move. I've done it so many times. But going back to what you said about like the positioning me as the expert versus the other part, like I felt like that's what I was doing, is like everybody I was interviewing, I was positioning them as the expert and it was taking it away from me. So I took a break for like 2 weeks, and then I ended up taking a break for like 6 months because I'm like, this is just so far from where I want to be right now in this podcast, but I didn't know how to like flip it around. And it was so inspirational and magical going to PodFest to like hear how other people have done it. So, I mean, honestly, like your session by far blew me away. I'm not just doing that to like, blow smoke or anything. I mean, it was literally like magical because I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything that I need. And then I joined the Growth Club because I was like, I need more Adam.
Yes. Who doesn't?
Right.
Highly recommend. But no, I think, yeah. And the other nice thing is the solo episodes and the coaching episodes are going to be shorter, which is easier content, easier editing, less editing. Like I don't think solo episodes, and especially coaching episodes, we don't want those to seem over edited because we want it to be very realistic. Because if people can notice like, oh, the editing, it's really highly edited. They think that you're taking out anything where you look like an idiot, and they're like, oh, like, like these are just the highlights. And like, no, let's keep it all in there. So there are moments where I do sound like an idiot, and you guys all hear that, and I'm glad for that. It's realistic authenticity. So yeah, I think, you're somebody that I see a lot of potential in. Obviously, people like JLD, you see the potential too. So that's a huge endorsement.
Yeah.
But you're also somebody that, you've kind of said, like, you kind of gotten in your head about it a little bit, gotten overwhelmed a little bit. You're taking in a lot right now, and you're going to have a whole lot of people saying, oh, you need to be doing all the things. So I think you need to be aware of that. So let's talk about some simplification a little bit.
Please.
When I coach somebody in any way, shape, or form, I always like, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 things to focus on and do, but I also want to give you like 5 things you should probably stop doing. So it's a net, like we're doing less things,
Well, because that's part of my challenge is there's so like from a technology perspective, like I was on a network and I chose to like come away from them because of the break. And then I was like, well, I can just figure it out. And now even just like all the stuff with the show, plus figuring out the technology and the funnels and all that, like it is paralyzing. Literally.
Yes. So let me just tell you a few things that I've done that I found very refreshing and with simplification. And then we can just kind of pluck ideas that you want me to go deeper on. You're like, hey, maybe this is a good idea for me. So obviously shifting from doing more interviews to solos and coaching, that's going to save us time. That's going to be easier editing, easier everything. And any interview you do should be strategic. And honestly, I think anybody that you interview should be a potential sponsor for your show, like moving brand type of people. They can drop some knowledge, but also they should be a potential brand partner sponsor. I don't see any reason to have anyone other than that, unless they have some sort of a moving podcast and you're looking for hey, I want to make friends with this person, have them on my show first. Maybe they invite me on their show.
Yeah.
So those would be the only 2 reasons to do an interview. Strategic.
Okay.
So when that PR company hits you up 10 times a day, why haven't you replied to my message? Well, it's because you called me Amanda and my name's Adam. That's probably the starter. We don't have to worry about those people. Mm-hmm. So anyway, interviews, that's where I would place an interview strategically. Now, I know you said you've done things like newsletter in the past and you kind of have that resource. So for me, right now, I'm leaning into 3 areas big time. Audio podcast consistently. I'm going to spoiler alert, in March of 2025, I'm going to 1 episode a week. So it's going to be just Tuesdays.
Okay.
But I'll still be doing these, this type of content. So once a week podcast, once a week newsletter, and 3 times a day on Threads. Those are the 3 most important things for me.
I love it.
So I've taken time off of like LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, all that stuff has just, I hit the pause button.
Yeah.
And it's not it's gone forever. I can put that back and I can start doing Friday episodes anytime I want. It's just, I want you to have the mindset of I can put the pause button on anything. And we have to consistently ask ourselves, what is working? What is a real pain in my butt? How do we put more on the what is working, what feels easy, lucrative, fun, less on the, hard, annoying, lame, frustrating, HALF region of things. So, I mean, things like if the video portion of this is really messing with you, just focus on consistent weekly audio episodes. If the editing production side is really messing with you, then just focus on, doing the best that you can. You've got good sound. I mean, heck, and if you're coaching and doing solo episodes, the audio isn't as big of a deal. If you were doing like a storytelling podcast or a meditation podcast, then we need production level.
Right.
But coaching is if you show up with any amount of energy at all, and you don't sound like the teacher from Ferris Bueller with like the monotone voice, anything above that, and you drop some knowledge, you're good.
Okay.
If you say 4 times, we don't really care.
Right.
I'm not gonna be like unsubscribe. That's the 4th I've got a 4 rule over here. So that's just something to consider. But I think even with like social media, like what's the 1 or 2-ish platforms that you actually are getting engagement and it feels like you actually want to be there. You enjoy posting. That's where, Threads is not the most popular platform. A lot of people don't even know. They're like, Threads, what is that? I'm like, it's Facebook's version of Twitter. Like, what?
I had to think for a second because I was like, X, is that, are we calling X Threads these days? I'm like, but that's the thing is that like, I took a break from kind of everything. So like Instagram's probably my favorite just because I know how to use it somewhat. I wasn't mad when like TikTok was going away because I was like, phew, no, I don't have to learn how to use that one.
Yep.
So maybe I'll just pick like because this originally was supposed to be a TV show and I was like, pitching a pilot to like several production companies in April of 2020. And then like everything got shut down and, in March right before it. So we just shifted into a podcast me and my shadow shifted into a podcast, but it's been successful. I just haven't gone as big as I want to because like I said, I was getting in my own way, but I do love these because I think that you sometimes have to give yourself permission to not do all the things and then you can slowly add them in as we go. So
yes, because every event you attend, every podcast you listen to, every social media post and all the ads that come your way, they're going to be telling you to do something new and extra. And they're going to say it's the best and only way to do it. So just keep that kind of filter. Even when you listen to my show, it's like, I talk about Threads. I talk about the success I'm having. I'm not telling you got to go focus on Threads. Don't. I'll tell you, do not do that. Explore that idea, experiment with that idea, give it a 30-day trial. But if you are over there hearing crickets, or if you're on there, I'm like, I throw up in my mouth every time I open the Threads app. I hate being there. Then don't be there. For example, today, I was like, I just put an episode out. It's Tuesday. I got to promote it. And I was like, I normally it's on my checklist, promote something on Instagram. I'm like, I don't want to freaking do this. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to pop on after we're done. I'm going to go live and I'm going to talk about the episode and answer some questions on the topic of the episode. And that's going to be my Instagram post, because I'm like, I want to do that. I want to talk to people. I don't want to just post something and have some AI, whatever on there.
Right.
So feel free to take a little bit of liberty with your content and with the way that you put it out there in the world, and do it. Like, I want you to enjoy this process, it shouldn't burn you out. This is like, my whole motto of like, love it like a hobby, build it like a business. We should have both. When you're in podcast promotion mode and content creation mode, that should feel like recess, not going to detention.
Right. Right. And that's what it was starting to feel like. That's why I took the break. And it was like, it was exciting kind of getting back into it, but I wasn't feeling that excitement when I was doing it. It just felt like so much work. So I do appreciate that little tagline, because it is true. Like, you really have to love it, and then it won't feel like work.
Yes. Okay. So I feel like expert positioning, just consistency, weekly episodes are huge. Like, you keep showing up for your audience, they'll keep showing up for you. But I love the coaching style episodes. I think that's an endless funnel of just like potential clients, great, ideal avatar listeners, easy content, could lead to, a lot of good things. So I like that a lot for you. One other thing to consider with like, and I know you're into like lead magnets, funnels, like you're in that mode of like, I got to build all the things.
Yeah.
Something to consider. And I've got future episodes coming out about this, or maybe by the time this goes live, I may have already put out some episodes about this, but I've had some aha moments of, extreme simplification around the topic of lead magnets and funnels. I deleted all my funnels. I had funnels that were working, and I erased them.
Dang.
Because my coach, I've got a coach called, his name is Mike Romaine. He's helped me with all my written stuff. So like threads, newsletter creation. And he just hit me over the head with the frying pan of knowledge, and just like about darn near knocked me out. He goes, Adam, your only and main lead magnet you ever need to talk about should be your newsletter. And he goes, here's why. When people opt in to a newsletter, they want to get emails from you. They will open your emails. When they opt in to your scorecard, they just want the scorecard. They do not want to get, they're not necessarily like, that's not why they made that step.
Yeah.
And we're like, send me emails. They're like, I want the scorecard. I want the checklist. I want the video thing.
Yeah.
So I still have my scorecard, but I erased the funnel. I'm like, this is dumb. They don't want emails. They're going to get my weekly email. So I'm going to promote that, and I can sell from my newsletter.
Well, that's actually brings up a good point. So that lead magnet that I don't know if I put it in the form, but I haven't released it yet. And I think I keep going back and forth, because like when ironically during that break, I moved twice. I moved from Charlotte, North Carolina to Indianapolis, and then Indianapolis, because I did a city POC. Like I did a proof of concept where I spent 3 months in Indianapolis. I'm like, I just don't feel connected. I'm going back home to Chicago every other week. So I just moved back home. But I changed that. Like, it's not necessarily even a lead magnet. It's a full blown ebook now. It's like almost 30 pages, because the whole time, I mean, I had everything from like FEMA canceling my closing to like a nervous breakdown. Like, it was like the worst and the best move I've ever had. But I'm still wondering, like, should I be charging for this ebook? Because everything that I went through, I was like, gosh, I got to put that in there. I got to put that in there. And maybe somebody will think about this. And so like, I don't know if that's something that you would recommend, is like, just because I don't have any services that I'm monetizing yet. Like, I have a digital course that I've been building for 3 years, and I still haven't released that. You know what I mean? Like, speaking of simple, like that's literally already done. Would you suggest monetizing through that?
Yes. And I've got the strategy for you. This is everybody who listens to this one's going to get like the extra sauce on this one. So what about this? Like, again, simplification. What's an easy way to sell this ebook, a PDF, a thing that's a ton of value, but we're going to put it's dumb if you don't buy this price on this thing, and just kind of get some sales going. And you can sell it in other ways as well. And you could still use it as a lead magnet. I'm not against lead magnets. Personally, I'm just going, you can download my scorecard, but I'm not going to put a funnel behind it. You're going to get the scorecard and email that shows you how to use it. And then you're going to get my newsletter. So anyway, with my newsletter, when people opt in, they get to be on my newsletter, but then the next page is a stupidly priced offer, is the technical term of like, you're dumb if you don't buy this.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't even find this page any other way. Like it doesn't exist. I'm not saying what it is.
Yeah.
Because if you're not on my email list, you better go.
I think I know what it is because I think I went
You better
in.
go get it. You better go
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
So with that, I have a thing that's normally priced at the 500-ish range, and you're getting it for 97-ish range.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you are an idiot if you don't buy this. It's a huge value. So you could do that at the back edge, promote your newsletter, make that your main lead magnet. Again, kind of froth that up a little bit. With your newsletter, we don't want that just to be a promotion of other things. Like, you want it to be like its own independent content pillar.
Yeah. Like valuable.
Yeah, you could look at your episode. What I do is I look at my episode of the week
Mm-hmm.
on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, I prep it, make some notes, and then Thursday I write it. But it's like a related topic. It's like, if you like the episode, you're going to like this topic. If you like this topic, you're going to like the episode, but it's not just a rehashing of the same content.
Okay.
But there needs to be its own individual, value. And at PodFest, speaking of PodFest, I had so many people come up to me and they're like, I read your newsletter. I've never had them lead with that before.
Wow.
It's always like, I read your podcast, or I listen to your podcast, but people were like, I've never actually listened to your show, but I read your newsletter every single week. I'm like, mind blown. I'm a writer.
I love it. Yeah.
We lead with the newsletter. We promote that. Like, you can run ads to that. You can run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, banner ads, on different apps and things. And then they're going through the opt-in, and you're selling off the back edge with that crazy great offer. That's an easy funnel, and they're on your email list, and you didn't really have to sell anything.
Yeah.
So that's something that you could try out, and then you could sell the same thing and just do a less crazy deal or full price or whatever on your website, or somebody does an audit session with you and go, hey, since you came on the show, normally this thing's $500. I'm going to take the price off, half price or whatever, as a thank you. I think this is a great resource. Would love for you to check it out. Here's the discount code. And if you do that, make the discount code their name and give them 3 days. Give them 3 days to use it. Go use the code Adam. You got 72 hours. That code's good for the next 72 hours. It's just a little something I do for my people that come on the show. So that way it's easy to remember because it's their name. They know where to go, and they know they got 72 hours to do it. So that's a bonus strategy. And that's its own little funnel. But that's like, okay, we're creating podcast content. We're creating newsletter content anyway. Let's take this on the back edge. We're talking about on the show, get on the newsletter. They get on the newsletter. They see the offer. It all works together. And I like that a lot. Yeah.
That's a great, like, full circle moment there.
Yeah. And there's no funnel required, which
Thank
I like.
the Lord. I know.
Yeah.
It's just complicated. And I got to a point where I don't love reading emails every single day from people. So I don't even read half of them, so it like that to me is like not worth the effort that I would be putting into it. So
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
It really hit me. I was like, wow. At first I had like an 18 to 20 email funnel off that scorecard. And then I cut it down to 10. And then after I talked to Mike, I was like, I just need like 2 emails to show people how to use the scorecard, and then get the heck off there. And just, I want them just, tuning in. I want my open rate healthy, and they're like waiting for that engaged Thursday email, and they really want it. Yeah. So I feel good about that. All right. Lots of things. We talked about the name. We talked about expert positioning. We talked a little about lead magnets, newsletters. So we got a lot of things here. I really think the key for you is to, with your content, find the sweet spot of what you really enjoy creating and what your ideal listeners want to hear and seem to, resonate with.
Yeah.
And it all starts from there. If you're doing that, you're good. If you're feeling burnout, go into that like less but better mode and go, what can I put on pause? Not get rid of, but just put on pause for 30 days and then reinvest some of the stuff that is in that easy, lucrative, and fun column, and use that time for that. So
I needed that permission to do that. So thank you. Yeah.
There you go. Now I want you to take a minute, shout out your website, social media, whatever you like to promote. Go ahead and go for it.
Yeah. So I'm at Marriott's on the Move everywhere. The website is decidingtomove.com. I just changed that because it's easier for people to remember than learning how to spell MARIETTES on the move.com. So that's me.
Great. Go out and support Marriott. And Marriott, I appreciate you being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Pod Pals. Hopefully you enjoyed that first segment of my podcast audit of the Moving Tips and Tricks podcast. Next up, I'm tagging in one of my newly certified podcast growth coaches, Coach Leah Bryant. She's going to be diving in and doing some podcast growth tips. And for those of you that are new to my ecosystem, this certification that I'm doing, I get a lot of questions about it. It is for people that want to level up their game as a podcast coach. A lot of these people are editors, producers. They're coaching podcasters in some way, shape, or form, and they want to add a growth aspect to their business or level up what they can offer in that area. Obviously, I've been in the game for a long time, since 2015 now, and been able to produce great results for myself, my own shows in different niches, and for my clients in different niche topics. So I decided to create this certification so that kind of to leave a legacy, to teach what I know to other coaches so that we can impact the podcasting industry in general. We know that podcast growth is a huge part of why most podcasters quit, because they aren't seeing it happen. So it's a cool program. If you're somebody that's interested in the certification program, I'll put a little link in the show notes so that you can check it out. We do some group certifications. We got some one-on-one options as well. And it's the only thing like it that exists in the podcasting industry, which I'm really proud of. All right. So enough about the certification. Let's see what Coach Leah Bryant has to say here as she does a podcast audit and dishes out her top podcast growth tips. Let's go.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much for taking time out to do this. I really appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
And it's very nice to meet you. I had a lot of fun listening to your podcast and doing all the research for it. It's really great. I think you have a great foundation. And like with a few tweaks, I feel like it's really going to be super impactful.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
Yes. Okay. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, I know that you have like that very first episode of Welcome, and it's like 11 minutes.
Yes.
Do you think that you could maybe take a portion of that and make it a trailer, like this less than 3 minutes?
Yes.
So the reason why I say this is my favorite part, because when you have a trailer, and like in Buzzsprout, you can label it trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can show you where to do that if you don't know. But it's a very small commitment for people to get to know you, what the podcast is going to be about, and how and what they can learn from the podcast. And then listening to that 11-minute episode, there's a lot of good pieces in there that you could probably take out and just kind of think about how it could fit together to kind of give like a holistic view of the podcast
Got it.
in like a short amount of time.
Got it. I never thought of that.
Yeah. It's okay.
Like, no.
And then in your episode descriptions, have
Yes.
the link to purchase your book.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have all the links in there?
Yes, I have Linktree has everything.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, everything.
I don't mean this in a negative way, but people are lazy sometimes.
Completely.
So I would even extract Instagram and put, follow me on Instagram and have Instagram so that we can just click it. The less clicks, the better.
Right.
And that way that's easy enough they could go straight to or wherever you want them to follow you.
Okay.
Or you have like the most engagement, like stuff like that. Like I know you're on TikTok
Yeah.
and YouTube and Instagram. I mean, technically you could list all three if you wanted to, but whatever one you really want to push them to, I would take that out and put it on there underneath your link tree.
That makes sense.
And I would, in Buzzsprout, they have that standard footer. You could actually put it
Yes.
on every episode.
Yes.
If that's where you have you
Mhm.
can put it down there.
Okay.
Okay. I love your cover art, but
Yeah.
the thing about podcast titles, I'm not going to ask you to change the title because I think it's clever. And I'm going to show my screen.
Okay.
If you add a tagline,
Mm-hmm.
because like Shifts and Giggles doesn't tell me exactly what the podcast is about.
Fair.
So if we add a tagline about what it is and who it's for, it will really kind of like help people see that.
Got it.
And kind of did a little mock-up
I love this.
of what it could look like. I have 2 different ones.
Okay.
So like I was trying to think of like what would be a good tagline in SEO, because the big thing is about organic discoverability, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to focus on that first to get people to come to your podcast so they can work with you. The accents that you have, like the arrow
Mm-hmm.
and then like the laugh, you could save those for your social media posts.
Got it.
And then like just keep the cover really clean. So your title is giant.
Mm-hmm.
And then like whatever tagline you want to use, it's in your other color and it's at the bottom.
Yep.
So this is very clear. And your name is going to show in the podcast player regardless. You don't necessarily need that on your cover art. It
Got
just
it.
takes up valuable space.
That makes sense.
And then here's the other option, like just trying to like think about.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to show you this is because, and forgive me, I took a screenshot of this, but so
No,
this
you're
is what it kind of
awesome.
looks like now, like when you're in the players with other podcasts
Mhm.
versus like this one.
Ah,
You see the difference of like how it just pops out at you?
yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, I want to see what this one is. Because your title is going to catch their eye.
Yes.
And then like the tagline is going to tell them like what it's about.
Got it.
And you could obviously change the colors however you want that to be.
Yeah.
I just thought the blue was softer and it wasn't going to be super like distracting from the title or from
Right.
you. So
I love this.
good. And I can share this website with you too, but it's really great where you can see it in all the players and what it would look like.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think just those few tweaks would definitely help, like just make it more attractive. Not that it's not now, but it just makes it clarity, really.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is SEO. So how familiar are you with SEO?
I am not at all. My brain has gotten over the you know how when you learn a new acronym and you like
Mm-hmm.
through the letters every time? My brain has finally stopped doing that, which is awesome. So that's where I am with SEO.
I love it.
Yeah.
So with SEO, it works a lot like it does in Google as far as like in your podcast players of being able to help your podcast be more findable.
Right.
Things you want to think about are like what kind of keywords would correlate with my podcast that would help folks who are going into the players, maybe typing like they could be like a couple of words together, one word together.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to share my screen again because I feel like it might be easier too. So far, sorry about that.
No, I love that. I love seeing it.
Okay, good. I didn't have your original description. Let's pull it up really quick here. Well, it's not horrible. I feel like we can make it even better.
I love it.
Right? So what I did was we put like what the podcast is, and obviously you can go in and tweak all of this. And then you're rooted because of your method
Yes.
and like kind of like what that
Yes.
is. And then what you're providing. Now the next big thing is like what questions are people asking about your topic or theme, like the top Google questions. And like
Yeah.
kind of focus those by putting them in here because when you do that, that's also going to help pull in the SEO.
Mhm.
And then like the ending here, like if you're looking for this. Actually, it doesn't have, oh, I think I inadvertently deleted that. Oh, I did. Okay, so there should be also another paragraph here that says, hi, I'm a Rafer, and
Small.
I'm a
introduction.
certified mindset coach, right?
Yes.
And like just a little snippet about you. So that way they get to know what the podcast is, your method, a little about you, and then like what they're going to get. These questions they're going to be answered.
Got it.
Okay. And then the next thing is like your titles. Now, this is specifically for episode, I think it was 2. I think it's this one because you talked about the simple shift here. Not that this title is bad,
Yes.
but when we think about what people may be searching for, like how to shift your mindset, definitely. And then you put in your method here.
Yes.
And this works because it includes the keywords and it's going to give them a takeaway, right? Because it's a method that they can apply.
Right.
And then it's speaking directly to like their transformation.
Yes.
And then as far as like your episode description, you could probably beef it up a little bit more by adding some keywords that are specific to this episode. You can do that with each one.
Got it.
So what I always suggest is to like think about what words are going to highlight the topic you're talking about in that episode and kind of build out from there.
Okay.
Do you have any questions so far?
No, I love this. This is yeah, my brain is a flower opening up.
Okay. In all the good ways, hopefully.
That's the best way to explain them.
I love it.
Yeah. Love this.
In Buzzsprout,
Yes.
under podcast info, there's a next little tab. I think it says advanced. And on that page, there's a section where you could put keywords.
Yes.
So I would think about like the keywords that you want of the podcast as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
and then put those in there because that will also help with discoverability.
Got it.
And I think you could have up to 12. I think it's 255 characters.
Okay.
So kind of just like think about that. These are just the ones that I had found like when I was doing some research about what would be great.
Okay.
Obviously, you can change these if none of these fit your brand or what you have in mind.
Got it.
And then right now, it looked like you had, because I couldn't tell 100%, but it looked like you have self-improvement and education as categories.
I couldn't tell you. I know self-improvement for sure.
Okay. So these are really important because this is if people are searching for those keywords or
Yeah.
you were going to show up in like kind of like those categories.
Got it.
So like these are the ones that I would recommend you be in. You can have up to 3. And the third one you could almost do maybe education how to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you could do like self-improvement. I would definitely have mental health in there because I feel like you as a certified mindset coach that definitely falls underneath of that.
Yeah.
And then like the third one you could do the education how to maybe.
Okay.
Or if you ever have guests and are sharing personal stories, you could do the society and culture personal journals. But I would definitely at least make sure that these 2
Got it.
are in there.
That makes so much sense.
Now, I know in your intake form, you talked about you're using clips, and I love what you're doing as far as like doing push-ups
Mm-hmm.
for the number of downloads. I think that that's brilliant. Or the cities. Yeah, the cities for the push-ups. I think that's brilliant. But I didn't see a lot of other, and I know that it's hard because you're a dad and you work and all the
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if you just did a couple of other little things, I think that it could also help. So what Adam teaches us in the course is like there's a 72-hour rule,
Mhm.
which is, we want to drive as much traffic to your podcast within those first 72 hours of it launching.
Got it.
Like if you publish on Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
you might even want to think about, because your target audience is basically anyone.
Yes.
Thursday is fine, but maybe Wednesday might be better, but we'll go with the Thursday. That's fine. So like having a carousel post
Mm-hmm.
that has like takeaways. And I kind of did this for episode 2.
Okay.
This would be like the title. And then like slide 2 would tell you this. And then slide 3 would tell you that. And like it doesn't have to be fancy. It could just be a blue background with your wording on it, or that's where you could pull in the accents. But then like each slide would break down like a takeaway and then have a really good call to action.
I love it.
And then another thought too is another carousel, maybe on like the 3rd or 4th day after the episode is live, that talks about, they say mistakes. I don't like the negative connotation that comes with mistakes.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with me. So I love opportunities.
I agree.
So if there's some kind of opportunity from that episode that your listener could take away,
Mm-hmm.
then you can make a carousel about that. It's just essentially like more ways of people
Yeah.
finding you.
Yeah.
Other socials. I think the reels are great. Like those snippets that you're pulling from the episodes are fabulous. What you're doing with the push-ups is fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
But these are maybe some ideas that you could do after, like maybe the push-ups are over.
Yeah. This part was
Hardest.
yeah, it's the hardest one. I only follow like 60 accounts on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So already it's such a finite time for me when I am online.
Mm-hmm.
So even getting to a place to promote is so crazy in my mind. Which I'm like, well, Rafer, you wrote a whole book about how to walk through crazy things.
Yeah.
So figure this out,
Yeah.
But this is the tool that I need for sure. Yeah, to really get this ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have like an email list or anything that you're also utilizing?
Not currently. In short, no.
It may be a great thing to do for people who purchase the book.
Mm-hmm.
Or also if you have like a lead magnet.
Yeah, we're working on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming at June, beginning of the month.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is coming.
Perfect. So you said you don't want to be salesy and you're not
Yeah.
creative enough to produce content easily.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you mean by content is an afterthought? Is that like the episode itself?
No, the episodes are fine. I pastored a church for a long time.
Uh-huh.
I grew up, my dad's a pastor, my mom's a preacher. Like talking is easy.
Uh-huh.
And Riverside has made producing the episodes very easy.
Yes, love Riverside.
Yeah, all of the reels, all of that has been so easy. It's the everything between recording and legitimately posting around the episodes themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like carousels, this push-up situation is pretty easy because I just got to do some push-ups and talk about the podcast every week or every day. But I have a friend, she built her social media following and she talks about it like it's air. She's like, I love doing this. It's so easy. And I'm like that with words.
Mm-hmm.
I can pull and make metaphors and analogies and they just pop up. I explained music theory to a lady who had no idea. She was like, well, I mean, if the notes are the notes, can't you just sing the note? I was like, it's not like that. And I built this whole situation to explain music theory to her. She's like,
That's
hey.
amazing.
And I was like, yeah, that's what it is, but I cannot do that. It has not come very easy to me. Just thoughts of content. I'm like, I just want to help people and that's it. I just want to show up and talk and high five some people and we all go home.
Right.
Uh,
I think that the SEO really focusing on that
mhm.
is going to help with that.
Okay.
And then too, like with social media, don't keep reinventing the wheel.
Got it.
Make a template
Got it.
for like if you want to do a carousel post, make
Got
that a template and all you have to do is change the words each week.
That makes sense.
And I know that Riverside, I don't know if they do it with all their levels, but they have like where it will pull out takeaways. It will pull out
Mhm.
the AI piece. I don't know how you feel about AI, but it's in there. You don't have to use it, but it's a great starting point.
Yeah.
Because if you read it, maybe it'll jog something. You're like, oh, this is, yeah.
I'm a big fan of AI.
Okay, good.
I am.
So, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
You could even take your transcript, throw it into ChatGPT,
Mhm.
and be like, hey, I need to create a carousel for this.
Got it.
And if you have it trained to where it knows your brand voice,
Training.
you can even write in your brand voice.
Yeah.
But like, I would put some personal feeling behind it.
Yes.
Put that and make sure that's in there because that's one thing it lacks in.
Correct.
But it will also create that for you too.
Yeah.
As far as like weaving, because I love that you have a framework or you're like your method. I love that
Mhm.
because you can weave that into every single episode.
Yes.
And by doing that, you're just reminding people of like your expertise and they can be like, oh, that's amazing. Da, 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 I want to work with him.
Mhm.
You could even create a mini series. Forgive me, I didn't look to see. I listened to the first one and the second one, and I spot listened to the other two.
No worries.
You may have done this, but I know you explained the entire framework in that one episode.
Yes.
Essentially, you could create a mini series at some point, breaking down like each letter of your method
Mhm.
and just really focusing on that.
Yeah.
And then that would be a great way because then you could organically weave in that.
Mhm.
And two, here's the thing. If you don't ask people, they're not going to do it.
Right.
People like to be asked.
Right.
I like to be asked, right? Like,
Right.
hey, if this is something you're struggling with, set up a discovery call or email me or
Yeah.
send me a DM on Instagram.
Yeah.
Invite them in
Got it.
because if you make that initial open invitation for them to come to you, then they will.
Yeah.
And to ask them, like I have here, like even if the episode isn't about the framework particularly, then just like referencing it.
Mhm.
I have examples here. The story ties into the learn and adjust step because when things don't go as planned, that's where the real growth begins or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can also like mention it in your outro, like as you're ending it.
Yeah.
So like if you did do this, you can create playlists on Spotify. So you could have a playlist just for your method. You could have a playlist that revolves around these challenges or these tools or these resources or things like that. And you can share those too
I love that.
to bring in more people that way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm going really fast. I'm sorry.
No.
But do you
I like
have
it.
any questions so far?
No. This is good.
Okay. Now the next one is a big one. It's going to be a little bit of a homework for you.
I love it.
So I know when I asked you, who are you talking to?
Yes.
You have people who feel stuck
Yes.
and they keep hitting the same mental. And I think this is great,
Yes.
but it's not niche down enough.
Correct.
So I have, and it's a lot, but
Yeah.
stick with me here. Like if you answer these questions, like it's going to give you something like this. it's going to tell you, like the age range, what they do. Because this way, if you nail it down like this, then you could literally build your episodes as if you're talking to that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because believe me, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Correct.
Versus if you're,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're really focused on who you're talking to, then it will really bring it in and zone in those people.
Yeah.
Because then you could technically put mindset tools for intentional growth or mindset tools for this person,
Yes.
like an entrepreneur or
Yes.
busy moms or whatever that may be, right? Like,
Crazy enough, I am currently reading .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. And I'm also currently building my first ClickFunnel like this month.
Awesome.
And so as I'm reading .com Secrets, he goes through the whole thing of finding your dream customer. Today is Tuesday. So Friday evening, I have the epiphany. It is the millennial Christian that has been in church. They feel stuck, and there's a gap between what's happening on Sunday and the rest of their life.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So the crazy part about, not crazy part, but the podcast already, I have 10 episodes recorded right now. And they are just about like this first season is just, here's the Simple Shift method.
I love it.
What it is, some deep dives, emotional intelligence, gift of failure, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that's just first season. Most of it is done already. But I am going to make this turn to this customer, this listener, this person, myself, who, my dad's a pastor. Yeah, my in-laws have been pastoring churches for the last 45 years.
I love it.
But people like me who legitimately, like, we're singing the songs, we're doing the things, and there's a gap. There's just a gap between what we confess and profess and all of that and what we live. So that just happened like 4 days ago. And I was trying to realistically like appeal to the masses because it's mindset, it can help anybody. That works when you're coaching one-on-one, but I have to have the niche. I have to. And I was trying not to, but I did. I went through and I was like, no, it's this person. And I had ChatGPT. I was like, this is who I want to talk to, yada, yada, yada. Create 2 people and a couple. Pictures, the whole 9. And yes, this is the guy. This is the girl. This is them. So we are making that turn for sure moving forward. And I'm very excited about that.
I love that. Then I would definitely pull in keywords Christian related. I do work with a lot of Christian podcasters. And so like you could pull in Jesus, Christianity, faith-based.
Yeah.
Like those are really great keywords.
Yeah.
That would also open you up to potentially shifting categories as well.
Correct.
So because they have, I don't have them all memorized. So give me 2 shakes here.
No worries.
Because if you didn't want to niche like super down, I would actually recommend you niching down.
Yeah.
Are you going to have the episodes? Like, are you going to be mentioning like faith and stuff like that? Are you going to keep it more generalized?
Season 1 will stay general. And then, season 2, I have, the world is my oyster at that point.
That's
so
right.
I will most likely niche down into season 2.
Perfect.
And then, it gives me another, 4 or 5 months of episodes that, okay, next season we can come back into parents. We can come back to relationships with adult friendships. I don't know. So you can essentially niche down every season because the method doesn't change, but the method, it applies everywhere. And my biggest dream is for 2 different people, the Christian person and maybe the, parents cross paths and they're like, I thought he did this. I thought he did this. He does that,
Right. I love that. So
Yeah.
maybe even niching down to that religion and spirituality / Christianity, even having that as a category.
Yeah.
You can choose 3. I always recommend having 3, Apple Podcasts, I don't know where the biggest portion of your listeners are, Apple, Spotify, or wherever. Apple has the first category is what it recognizes. And then all the other players are they're different. I think Spotify only recognizes the first one, but a lot of the other ones will recognize all three. So just like more opportunities for you being super niche down.
Okay.
And then I love that because then in season 2, you could update your cover art now if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And then in season 2, you could update it again to call out
Right.
those people
Right.
you're talking to.
Right.
I think that'd be really great.
I love it.
I love this. That's so awesome.
Yeah, that just happened legitimately Friday night, and it just kind of just poured out. And talking to my wife, and I'm like, and this, and this, and this. And she's like, yeah, that's it. Because it's just literally pouring out. So,
I mean, you could technically make those changes, those small tweaks now if you wanted to.
mm-hmm.
I mean, even though like the main conversation don't happen in season 2,
Right.
you could add the third category as the
Mhm.
Christianity. You could put some of those little keywords into the podcast description itself.
Yeah.
If you wanted to start calling in those people, so that way you don't
Yeah.
have to wait till season 2. I would just always make sure that, like, when you're talking about like a method or a topic and how to, I don't want to say fix it, but how to grow through it. Or
Mhm.
like, this is something that I coached you, or this is something I helped so and so with, or just kind of relate it back to what you've done in your coaching business.
Yeah.
And then that will help with like not being salesy, just being informative. And then another piece of the growth, and this will be the last thing I do because I want to be respectful of time, is that growing podcasts, yes, you can work on all this SEO discoverability stuff, is podcast guesting,
Yes.
like being a guest, because that'll put you in front of your ideal audience.
Right.
They're not currently following you,
Right.
having conversations. So that will help your podcast grow potentially, but it also will set you up for speaking.
Yes.
Because then you could include those in like your speaker one sheet
Yeah.
of being like, oh, here are some examples of me guesting on a podcast and my speaking abilities and things
Mhm.
like that.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. It's always, not always, but the last, I guess, 3 years have kind of been, it's like, I know I can coach. I know I can teach. I know I can do a workshop. I know I can speak. I know I can write a book, obviously a podcast. Like, how do I pull this
All together.
into 3 sentences if I had to? And this is huge. This is
Mhm.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this. This is, yes. My wife is about to not hear the end of this.
I love it. I would also put, I know that you have it in is the interest form, is that for coaching?
In the form itself, it has the drop down. So if it's workshop, if it's one-on-one
Okay.
speaking engagement, all of those things are there.
I would actually pull that out too and put that in your
Put it in
footer.
okay. Heck yeah.
That way you can say, down in the description below, you'll find all the links to contact me. Hey, if you want to work through coaching on this with me, click the link below. We'll set that up for you or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's a moment in these situations where I'm like, where's the moment where I'm going to freak out and be like, but can I do that? And you just did it. You just did the part that I'm now afraid to do, which is the thing that I should do before I go back upstairs and tell my family I'm done.
Yes.
Oh,
You do it.
this is good. I love a good challenge, and that is more intimidating than the content.
You've got this though. Look what you wrote a book. Not everybody can say that. So
That's true.
do you have any other questions?
No, ma'am. I do not.
Hey there, podcast lovers. I'm Leah Bryant. And if you've been loving this conversation with Rafer and I've got some exciting news for you. Now that I'm a certified podcast growth coach, I'm accepting new coaching clients. At Leah Bryant Co., it's more than just coaching, though. We're a full-service podcast production boutique. That means we're your one-stop shop for launching, growing, and scaling your show. From strategy to editing and SEO to coaching, we handle all the behind-scenes work so you can focus on showing up with your best content. Because let's be honest, your voice deserves to be heard, and your podcast should work for your business, not the other way around. If you're ready to grow your audience, generate more leads, and make a real impact, I'd love to help. Visit leahbryantco.com and book a free call, and let's make your podcast a success together.
All right. Shout out to Coach Leah Bryant. I will put all of her information in the show notes in case you want to reach out to her. Thanks, Coach Leah, for stepping in and coaching up on that podcast audit guest coaching session. That is it for this week's episode, y'all. I appreciate you tuning in. We've got some great content coming up for the rest of the summer here, so hold on tight. Stay tuned, and I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.